Welcome, Jamie Champagne, to our Blueprints for Success. It's wonderful having you join me and those who are watching in this session to learn a little bit more about you and what you do and what you're passionate about and those type of things. So the first question I have for you is, could you maybe tell us a little bit about you and your background and how did you get into business analysis?
I always love that question because I don't think many of us or any of us went to school going, I want to be a business analyst when I grow up. And we fell into it for better or worse description there. That my background is technical. I grew up in software development and I did a lot of training. And I noticed there was a lot of learning, like what the system could do. And then you had to translate it over to the people and get the people to actually use it. But for the people to be able to use it, you had to learn what they did for business. And so I often was a technical trainer and did a lot of requirements like for the software development because I get the user feedback. And that's where I started. And someone hired me then and it was for SharePoint, the application, but said, You're going to be a technical business analyst. And I said, That sounds cool. What's that? And mostly all I did was manage SharePoint and do more SharePoint training, but we spent so much time with the business trying to find out what they were doing, why they were doing it, how they were doing today, what could it be, and then looking at our arsenal of technology and seeing how we could meet those needs and bring them together. So definitely, yes, a foundation in IT. But again, I liked asking questions. Why are you doing that? What are you doing it for? And having fun with it. And that's where it's like, hey, there's a whole group of these crazy people who love to do the same kind of thing. Oh, I want to be in this business analysis club.
Okay. I think a lot of us fell into it, right? Just, oh, we need to solve this problem. You're now an analyst. Okay. It's, I think it's a little bit more organized these days than it was a couple of years back, a few years back. It's quite interesting because my son, when our daughter was asking questions, the why questions, his response was always reasons. She was like, why are we going here? Reasons. So next question for you is, what are some of the key experiences or turning points that you've had that have really shaped your career?
I would say when I took that role as a technical business analyst, researching what business analysis was, who were business analysts, and that led me to IIBA. And so that was finding out IIBA exists, there's a whole community, and they had a certification. And so I'm like, cool, best way to learn things is go about certification. And I admit I'm a certification junkie. I liked them because they teach me. You are forced to get intimately involved with that content and then look at your experience and like, how do I apply it? So I really love that. So that was probably one of the first parts, to be perfectly honest, is getting my CBAP and then going, okay, what else is out there? Because it introduced me to the community. It introduced me to speaking and being at these events that, other business analysts go to. And my first speaking, what I wasn't my first, but it's technically my second, I think, in the history, was I got to speak at BBC. I didn't get picked, but it was a year they had awful hurricanes come up to the American coast. And so someone told me, bring your presentation just in case someone can't make it because of weather. And I did, and I only did a small piece of it, ended up. Ellen Gottensteyer helped me actually. And she says, Jamie, we loved your thought. Could you still present a little piece here? We need a speaker. I said, sure, I'll go for it. Sounds like fun. And that was definitely that pivot of wow, to get in front of a group of peers. And it wasn't just sharing a topic, it was their feedback. It was having an audience that had questions. Hey, can we talk more about this at lunch? Let's have some more conversations. That part, that really got me into, okay, the community of it and going, there's something of interest I like with the profession or the workplace. Yet there's a whole community you can share this with, grow it, learn from. Those are like the two pieces that, yeah, that propelled the VA career. I'll tell you that much.
And you speaking at this year's one as well. What's your topic?
Yes, So this one's really exciting because for tutorial, we're going to do hybrid facilitation. I
Mm,
love the challenges and have lived through some of the dramas of trying to get people to
yeah.
work together, especially now that this hybrid. So that's what we're going to do. And it's going to be hands-on and fun, of course. And definitely talking about some of the other aspects like the art of unlearning. We've had to
Mhm.
learn so much. One more tool in that toolbox is to unlearn as an element and approach and technique you can use to bring better outcomes.
That's fascinating. Yeah, the unlearning. A lot of people think that's a waste of time, but actually it isn't because things change a lot. And you're from Hawaii. So are you still based in Hawaii?
Yep, Hawaii's home. I will probably always be here. I'm definitely one of the fans when everyone went virtual. I'm like, yes, I can connect more. I am
That's
home,
what I
but
was going to ask. Yeah.
yeah, I'm home, but I often travel too. That's what I say. I love being in the communities and really seeing it's not just like cultural, but even like locale differences, how people
Yeah.
approach and different large organizations, smaller organizations, like everything's the same, but everything's still different. That's what's
Mm,
really cool.
mm. Great. In your own words, how would you describe the importance and the role of business analysis and considering the changes that are happening in the industry and multiple changes all the time, I suppose?
Business analysis is that role or perspective that pauses and says, hold on, let's ask why. I love all the innovation and excitement around, say, artificial intelligence. Let's pause for a quick second before we go buy something new and say why. That to me, it's do you have a perspective or who is that perspective in your organization that looks across your entire landscape that says, do we know what we have? Do we know what capabilities we want or should have? And then where are our gaps? And they're always focused on that business value, that what
Mm,
makes the most sense for beyond just small department roles or project teams. They're looking before it, during, and after change efforts. And it's one of those things that not one role has had in the past until they started making like a business analyst role. It's highlighting those skill sets that we made those roles because no one else was doing it. They were so structured or focused or just go make money or just go save money or just reduce staff. And it's hold on, why? Let's connect it to the bigger thoughts and that you are saving money, time, reputation, resources, your pool of talent that comes from having the business analysis skill set. And if you don't embed that into all the areas of your business, that's where we see roles that are made as a business analyst because somebody needs to do that to keep you viable. These changes are going to happen. Who's stopping and saying, why does this make sense? Where's this fit in our roadmap, our strategy? Or should we be changing our strategy or roadmap because these things are out there, these things are happening? And so I think that's the part where once you either embed that as a skill set, we need to call out that role base that someone's got to fill. Otherwise, our organizations won't be here tomorrow.
you feel that business analysts, do you feel that people understand that they need to ask the why? And do you think business analysts need to ask the why? And do you think business understands they need to ask the why? Because sometimes it's more like it feels like a document kind of role for some people. I'm not saying
Mm.
everyone, I'm just saying that happens quite often in businesses. What are your thoughts?
The part on that one, because that's a great question, it's really you do what works. And so like the documentation issue, you do it if it works and it's needed. If it's not needed though, like even that's a great example of say, hold on, what are we documenting and why?
Mm,
Who's going to use what we produce? And so again, it's not like that mindset a little bit of whatever I'm doing needs to create value for the next person and the person after that, and like the next project after that, and the next company or successor after that. If we don't have that mindset, we are only creating that one time little box. And so it's to me almost that part of how much value can I get out of each action? that if a CEO level comes in, they want to maximize every minute they're there that has a longer term business value. So they should spend time on where they're at. And so, to your point, they should absolutely ask, why am I at this meeting? Why am I working with these people? Why are we talking about this strategy? That same time, though, that detailed level, like the day-to-day operations analyst, someone feeling like, oh, I'm only a help desk person. I just do my job, I meet my metrics, I'm good. That same person, though, should have that same drive to sit there and so, what am I doing so that the next help desk manager can run this? What am I doing so the next phone call is easier? That continuous drive on how much value, when you have that perspective, that's what adds up to the greater good. They may not see it, but they need that because otherwise, like AI can replace some of those smaller roles. CEOs, strategies are going to be created or destroyed in seconds. That why spend time documenting it if it's going to be disappeared the next minute? So that part on asking why, everybody should be asking why. But it's not on just why am I doing this in the first place? It's sitting there really, why am I doing this? Because I want to maximize the value output.
Mm. Mm. That's really important. I agree with you. It's adding value is really what everyone should be doing in their work. All right. Can you perhaps share a project or an initiative where you could really see the value of the business analysis role, like that it was crucial in the success of a particular project?
Sure. A good example is like the digital transformation project. So going from paper-based systems to an online or collaborative tool. And the part where business analyst role was sitting with each area, so every area too, and walking through what is the work you do and how do you do it? Because gave that viewpoint from across the organization. We saw which was respective departmental items. Here's what the system must be able to do because this is their function. Yet then we had an eye where someone, because it was the same teams going across all the different areas, they could see across the board. Here's what everybody is doing. This is what really needs to work well. This is where, okay, this one group might be a little different, the other 9 groups do it the same way. We might have to bring them on board. And so when we said we were calling out requirements, we weren't just calling out requirements for the system, we were calling out requirements for the changes. And so putting those in place to articulate as part of the change work, the project manager, she was like absolutely in love with the BA role. She's like, you understand this, what's going on. And we learned the system too, as well, because we had to help with the testing. We could help translate that business model over to the new technology model. Having someone in that realm was really appreciated by the organization because their staff could focus on their work. So think about that. Again, very objective, very unbiased party was helping the transition happen so that the people, they didn't have to worry about what all these buttons mean and do. It was, how do I do my job? How do I get
Yeah.
the work done? And because they had someone who could see and understand where they were coming from and where they were supposed to go to. That was the part where the PM, I know she kept always giving accolades. She wanted a BA on every project because she's like, you have to define requirements, you have to define workflows, because that's what you tell the vendor to build. And it works with great when you can give them good stuff, like good in, good out. And so she said every change project, every technology she wanted a BA on, just to not only do the requirements, but to sit with the stakeholders before and during those requirements analysis and then after. Is this what was supposed to be done? So that was a fun and easy example, and it happens more than once that when you sit there and you get to connect, and again, I think we see the BA as an additional resource because asking other people to stop what they're doing to go see how others are doing it or put it together, they didn't have that.
Mm. That's great. Where do you see the business analysis field going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I what's really cool is I think the skill set has evolved and the profession. So those that weren't having business analyst roles before, I'm seeing areas of those like they're having them now. So I think those ones that are newer to the late bloomers come into the field and go, oh, we want a business analyst or business architects and more than just system analyst, enterprise analyst. We're going to see more of those roles called out for those that are like coming up to speed. They're like, oh, this is a good thing. But I think the other swing we'll see is a lot of people who've had business analysts really say, okay, you're good at this. I want to expand you. So it's almost like the business analysis skill sets is what they
Yeah.
want, but they're going to shape them into whether it's more advanced in strategy or more detailed into like how our technology is evolving. Mergers and acquisitions, we want that analysis piece up there with that kind of discussion. But I don't want a business analyst. I want someone who has that strategic view and can do all this analysis work. So I think what we'll see is the promotion of the analysis skill set, a business analysis training and understanding, and then watching people help articulate that's what you want in your advancement of your staff, of your skills enhancement, competencies. Have that, but you layer it into whatever business work just needs to be done.
Well, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because there are different needs in different businesses. But I do have a question for you. Does your family know what a business analyst does?
That's a great question. Nope, my husband has no clue. My daughter repeats back everything I tell her. So if you talk to her, she probably might give you a better summary. My husband, absolutely, he knows I get paid to talk, and that's all he's happy for. You found something you're good at, and someone pays you to do it. So he thinks they talk a lot. But yes,
Because
my
I
family
keep
has no idea.
wondering how will we solve that problem? And just for namesake, because sometimes it gets too hard to explain what BAs do. So I just say I'm like an investigative journalist for business. And that for me was the easiest way. And people, oh, yeah, okay, I watched enough movies. I know what they do. Yeah, but that I would love to see people actually understanding the role a little bit better because if we want to have the skill sets in the future, we will absolutely need to understand what the skill set is for that role. Um,
My
okay.
husband does still call out, I will say, he still calls out the quote when I first met him when I was doing the business analysis work. So this is quite a while ago. And he always teases me. He goes, are you just happy to help? And I say, yes. Because that was always the tagline that I'm here, I'm happy to help. What do you help with? What needs helping? And that's where I left it. And they're like, really? You just come in and help? I go, I know a lot of the tech and I can understand a lot of business. Let me know if there's a piece in there that I don't know. Normally, then I try to know who does. And that became that connector.
That's a
Which,
good
like you say,
example.
it's hard to
Yeah,
describe that, right?
it's hard.
What do you help
It's
with?
really
I
hard.
help.
Do you see an emergence of specialized roles of business architecture, business analysts, like architecture, as you mentioned, cybersecurity, and those kind of things? Do you think that there will be a broadening of what the expectations are or a narrowing? Like, for instance, with business analysis, we might focus more on certain skills because we might use tools like AI and that we wouldn't need to worry about, but we might have to accentuate other skills like conceptual thinking or what are your thoughts around the widening and the refining of the role?
I think we're going to continuously see specialized analysts because staying up to speed, especially I think the technology pushes, where we will continue to have data analysts because of the data out there, the cyber security analysts because of the changes and the attacks and everything else on that one. You're going to have the tool specialists because whichever application an organization invests in, they're going to commit to that. So I think you will constantly see these specialized analyst roles continue to pop up, and they'll call them as an analyst over a program manager or a manager type because they want them to really understand and then again, like that process improve. So I expect to still see those. In fact, I'll see a lot more, like you say, specialized, but it'll depend on where they're at. A financial analyst, I think, of tomorrow is not going to be the financial analyst we knew, like in banks that just looked at the finances. They're actually analyzing more what is showing in the financial results, what the business is doing, where are they working or not working. So they're, again, using those skill sets that we're going to see be pushed, that you have to be more than just a person good with numbers. You have to be a financial analyst, and that analyst
Yeah.
drive is going to be pushed, I think, on that one. Yet again, this is where to your point, the strategic architecture. It's not a business architect, it's a strategic architect, an enterprise analyst. Those roles, because people have seen the power of that analysis, that business analysis, our competencies, our structure, those roles I think are we're going to see more of, because they will get that space to touch more of the business than versus just a CIO or CXO. I don't want you looking at one thing. I want you to be enterprise wide. Yet we're going to then have to carve out those areas. How do they work together with the other roles? I kind of see like a twofold. Like we started in the middle, and now people are seeing that advance, and we're getting that who's going to take the deeper dive.
Mm. Mm. That's interesting. So, do you see let's say, the specialist kind of role deep diving into strategy a little bit more? And is that a strategy analysis kind of role, or is it more of we got the strategy and now we're going to get the project going? What is your view? And I know Babcock has a particular view and calls it strategy analysis, but I'm curious about that because with architecture, for instance, you're part of helping build the strategy. You don't come up with a strategy, like you won't come up with a solution, let's say. You'll help build the solution. But what is your view on that kind of enterprise analyst view that's analyzing the strategy?
I think, and we can call back out to Babcock Guide, even that same part, that strategy analysis, it's a circle that starts of what have we got missing in it, that we're going to come back and maybe revamp it, retailor. We're going to course correct as we learn. So I think that part where the role is, you might be involved still in development of the strategy at those strategic levels. You do have input. You are making that direction. Yet, who are the ones who are seeing how it's executing and
Yeah.
taking that feedback, but putting it right back in to course correct? So, like you say, if I give you a strategy and business architect is going to align the execution to deliver that, we're going to make sure we deliver that on that strategy. But you sit there and you say, we're having trouble. We can't connect. This won't work. Or there's something new. We haven't considered this before. Have you? That's that relationship now, that input back into someone who can still step further back and say, let's look at the business landscape. And so to where they want that continuous eye on it, who is chasing down and constantly course correcting, say, yeah, we set it out there, but we want to make sure it's always that right direction. Let's keep pivoting if we have to. And when do we sit there and say, hey, something else, external forces have changed? Stop the architecture design. We're going to have to like pause because we have to rethink our entire environment, not the company. Company didn't change, but the environment
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah. Anything could have triggered a whole set of events that wasn't part of the plan. I agree. So if you are looking at, let's say, the strategy, and what is your view on how business analysts design? Because that's another key component. It's just chatting about how architecture really is about design. But how do you think business analysis is about design? Because they work well with requirements. And what do you see happening in the organization from a design point of view?
I definitely personally feel the design work comes into place in those SME roles, those subject matter experts, those that are diving down in concentration. You'll need to understand the criteria that affects design options. And so asking those questions earlier, and simple from for years in the technology space, build or buy.
Mm.
That discussion, that decision point, that really affects your design. And you
Yeah.
have to know enough requirements to get to that decision, But until you make that decision, I can't give you the actual system requirements because
Yeah,
that's a big difference, building
exactly.
or
Yeah.
buying. And so that's where I think very, again, that little bit of cyclical, how are you doing the feedback? What questions you have to ask to know to make these design decisions? And then what is the feedback as we get going so that we make sure we've made the appropriate decisions? So that
Mhm.
same piece we do at the enterprise, I was discussing the strategy level. I think our subject matter expert analysts need to understand where the critical design decisions are. And then that's the role of that analyst. Have I got enough information? Do I understand what's going on? Where is my recommendation based on what I know, researched,
Yeah.
and where we've learned in the past? I presume I'm not as comfortable saying the same thing about the enterprise level on that. Like you say, how they do design work on that. A little bit out my expertise. I love the detail work down in the
Yeah.
weeds, but I would imagine that same piece would come into play. Know what your major decision points are and what
Mhm.
information feeds those, because that's the part where we need to have those questions answered before we just pick one and then try to back engineer it to what was picked.
And that happens quite a bit, right? It depends on how good the vendor is in selling.
I saw you
They
smiling on that one. I figure you were picturing exactly what's happened, and that we all learned all these good tips, right, from going through the situation of what not to do, so that we
yes.
know now what to do on the next one. Or
Um, so what skills or competencies do you think will be critical for business analysts moving forward? If we look ahead, as if they were to say, I need to study something, here's my budget, what skill or tools should I study today?
Oh, that's interesting. Budget, I have to figure out the budget on this one, but the learning with a couple of unlearning, that the skill set or the ability to learn fast. And that's going to come, I think, a little bit more with practice and just show that you need to be able to pick up and pivot. That we're on one type of call, but say Zoom, Teams, WebEx, GoToMeeting. Are you
Yeah.
comfortable switching all those instantly? Sure, it's not your favorite, but you understand enough what it is and you can get in there. You can dive in and see logical connections. I'm not a database person, but I can figure out a CRM pretty fast on the connections and links with just enough knowledge. So if
Mm-hmm.
you aren't comfortable picking up what your organization is using, learning, and even like acronyms. Can you go into a new environment, switch careers, ask for a different project? How fast do you pick up the vernacular, their vocabulary, what they're saying, and how they use that? That's the piece that helps because it integrates you. You can see capabilities and you can understand business very fast. That part's on there. And that definitely breeds into, I think, a layer skill set of agility. That's one of the things I would say is find out how to be very adaptable in both mindset and in activities. To be able to be okay with changes, yet that same back to the mindset. How do I keep looking for value? They just killed my project. We invested 6 months in. What do we do with it? Do you have any value for that 6 months? How are you pivoting and using that for the next one? That piece comes into play there. Like again, the comfort on technology. But then one more thing is teaching productivity. And this is one thing I love. All these changes, all these dynamic environments, are you still getting things done? And how fast are you getting things done? Because we're seeing how fast everything is now changing. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to get work done and just as fast, if not faster. Now, that might mean scaling down to very tiny bites, but that delivery, like if I'm a fan of backlogs and prioritizations that you do and get done, whatever is most important at this time. That's a loaded question because you want to be strategic, but also not fail today.
Yeah.
That skill set, the learning, how do I welcome those changes? That's why, again, I like product backlogs, I like prioritization because I can get all the stuff to do, but I'm so focused on getting something to done. Get something done, and you're going to have to do it faster. And so, whether it's an AI tool that's helping you or not, you have to figure out how to do work done faster, delivered, handed over. And I think those are some of the kind of key areas I definitely support BAs and BAs, business architects, business analysts
No, it gets a
of
little
all roles.
confusing, right?
Yeah, to have them. You can't take months to develop a strategy. You're going to have to
Mm,
have a shell really fast, but then
mm,
refine that shell. Be okay with that. Hey, this is a starting point. Might not even keep
exactly.
it by the end part, but we need something to move forward. Someone needs a decision now,
Yeah,
and we'll make those other decisions later.
yeah, I agree. That's really good. Any key challenges or opportunities you're working on or happening soon?
Ooh, challenges and opportunities. I think both is the opportunity to collaborate more. That there's so many amazing professionals, content creators, doers, thinkers out there that really we've opened up the floodgates to collaborate and produce something that's exponentially better than one individual or two individuals doing it individually. I want to see some more collaborate that
Mm,
here, both locally and then, of course, globally, to really just bring those skill sets. And what for me, I like to work with other people where you say, this is what I love doing, and this is only what I love doing. Don't make me do the other stuff like project management, been there, done that, got the t shirt. I'm okay over here. I ask why too many times, but I want to work with a project manager who is phenomenal and only wants. They're like, I don't care why. I'm like, it's scope, schedule, budget. Let's go. And just drive, but again, drive that product output. So a few more collaborations out there. What I'd like to see is say both locally in building that talent pool here for us in Hawaii. And then showing off again, like globally, being able to work with someone who's halfway around the world, yet you can together the output is again phenomenally better than just one of us
yeah,
trying something.
yeah. That's great aspiration. I really think that's and we can because look, I'm on one island at the bottom of the world and you a little bit higher than me in that sense. But yeah, you got people from all over the world. Last question. If you had to give yourself some advice, your younger self, as to what you would do, would you do anything different to what you have done and to where you are today?
It's hard because we're some of our experiences. And I love the part where, like, how do you get good judgment? Good judgment comes from experience. Where'd you get the experience? You got it from bad judgment. But you remember those learning lessons much better than what went awesome. What I think I've seen, and even recently, this happened to me, like in like kicking myself, that here we are, we're business analysts, we're architects, like we get the skill sets, we know it, we're preaching it to everybody else. Are you doing it on yourself? Like
Hmm.
I'm love like trying to give people a structure for a great business case that's solid, it answers all the questions. I should have wrote more emails and pitched more things to my managers in a business case format. What I do, I go walk it in with a bright idea. Didn't think through it. But then what I do all day long, I wrote business cases. What are the needs? I can do that for work. Do it for ourselves. That is the biggest piece here for me. Write out the business strategy for my own business. I could do that at work. We did that all the time. Brainstorm, get some ideas, align it to objectives. Nope, never did it for me until I was like, oh, maybe I should. And so that's the part here for especially anyone with these awesome skill sets that you see how transferable they are across industries. You can move an organization and pick up things fast. Do that on yourself. Remember to do it. Is this the right job? Is this the career move I want? Do I want to be in this titled role or do I want the skill sets and who's doing that? Is it a better opportunity to leave? What's the business case to leave a good job? And write it out if you need to. Talk to Chat GPT. Let them help you analyze where the risks, pros, and cons are. But take that minute and analyze your stakeholders before you go to dinner. If you're going to spend the time away from family at a networking event, did you plan what that value is, that value return? And I love my BAs out there who've done that to me. They've told me, "Hey, Jamie, why don't you write a business case for yourself?" And I'm like, Right idea. Maybe I should. But it's like that is the biggest piece of advice because I don't want to say I don't do any of those things that we learned the lesson the hard way because now we know. We didn't know what we didn't know. But I
Mm,
would say, especially to this audience, you have an incredible skill set that just like a project manager planning their own wedding kind of thing, business analysts, architects lay out you are doing for yourself, for your family, for your life. And wherever you struggle laying that out, like I'm already ready to call you and say, can we do a little analysis on my business? Because you can see the enterprise architecture here for me. I think I need a discussion on that. That would reach out to those that are really into these smarts, but apply it to your own work, your own career, and like I say, your own goals. I think
mm.
that's the biggest thing I would do more of. And I catch myself now going, yep, you need to do it. Yep, just sit down and do it like you do it for someone else. And that really can pay off.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think it's always difficult because you're toggling between time always, and you go, it's in my head, so I know it. But it is good to at least understand your business and what you need, and not just your business, but the time that you spend in doing different things. Yeah.
Oh,
All
absolutely.
right.
Prioritize it. Prioritization, we preach that to everyone else,
I
right? Then what do we
know.
do? We don't do it at home. Yeah.
So, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way to do that?
The best way to reach out to me is simply on LinkedIn. Please connect with me. I love connecting and I try to share on there as much as I can. And as well as my email address is right on there too. So LinkedIn is the easiest place to find me and where I try to always be see what else everyone is doing and all the awesome things going on in this world. That's my go-to place.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. It's really nice because it's a business network, so we don't have to deal with everybody's opinions about everything. But I do think it's a great platform to meet like-minded business people. It's a great community. All right. So thank you so much, Jamie, for giving me your time and sharing your story and your insights with everyone else. Really do appreciate that very much. And best of luck for your presentation at the conference. Enjoy it.
That's why I say LinkedIn is great because then we can also one person goes and shares and lots can learn and like you say continue that conversation. So
Yeah.
I'll make sure and share plenty as much as I can.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Jamie. I really appreciate your time and look forward to hearing all your news in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Aloha, everyone.